Today is the 12th of February 2019. I'm Keith Warr, and welcome to another episode of Homeless in Titusville. I just thought I would sum up what happened in court yesterday for you guys. I did have a little bit of a problem with the battery life with my camera. I do have just regular consumer cameras. I do the best that I can with the equipment that I have. So anyways, basically what happened is she got 3 years in prison and then 2 years community control, which is like intense probation and drug rehabilitation. So I think that'll be beneficial. Those 24 months will be beneficial to help Tanya to be able to learn how to deal with her addiction so that she can live the rest of her life out of prison and free and productive. So I don't really like doing these little sum up videos. I like to give you guys the meat of what happened and get right down to business. But unfortunately, I did have some battery issues with the camera when I was interviewing her attorney when he was summing up the case for you guys. So listen, I need better equipment. I'd like to have better equipment. I'd like to be able to dig a little deeper and show you guys some more stuff. But, unfortunately, it comes down to dollars and cents. But if you guys like the show and you want to support what I'm doing, I do have a donate now button in the lower right hand corner of the channel art. And I promise you I will use that money to buy some more wireless microphones and some better cameras and cameras with better battery life and so on, so that these things, videos have better quality to them. Because I think what I'm doing is important to show the lives of the homeless and what happens to them, how they're marginalized, and the resources that are out there for them and the resources that are not out there for them, and the qualifiers and so on. So I'll do my best to stitch together that video with the attorney, so you guys can just kind of bear with me. I will say that it was not the outcome that Tanya was hoping for. It's not the outcome I thought was going to happen or maybe should happen. But the judge did point out, if you watch the court proceeding, she did mention all the times that Tanya had failures to appear and violations of probation and other things that just, could not be overlooked. The judge had to do something, and I can tell you, being in her courtroom for 2 solid days, that she is a very fair and caring judge, and she gives people time to pay their restitution, their court costs, things like that. This woman really does care, and I truly believe that she belongs on the bench, and that she's doing the best that she can with the options that she has. So, but anyways, I'd just like to say that I appreciate you guys watching. Please like and share and subscribe to my channel, especially if you think that these videos are significant and important and enlightening, and educate the public, like I said, about what happens with people with mental illness such as addiction. So, but may you be just as blessed as you have blessed others. And until next time, thanks for watching.
Good morning, ma'am. Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that everything you say here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Tell us your name for the record, please.
Tanya, Casper.
All right. How old are you, ma'am?
43.
How far have you gone to school?
GED.
Have you taken any pills, drugs, or drunk any alcohol in the last 24 hours?
No, Your Honor.
Are you thinking clearly and exercising your best judgment?
Yes.
You're represented by attorney Christopher Cochran, and you discussed your case with Mr. Cochran.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you satisfied with the representation that Mr. Cochran has given you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All righty. Mr. Cochran, how should we proceed, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. Today, my client will be withdrawn to plea of not guilty and admitting to violations of 3 and 11 on her probation, Your Honor. There is not an agreement. This is an open plea to the court, and before we go to sentencing, I would like to call some witnesses.
Okay. All right. So, Ms. Casper, and then the associated costs. $100 cost prosecution, and I don't know if there's a public defender application fee.
Yes. She didn't have a public defender before me, yes, Your Honor.
All right, so, $50 public defender application fee. All right, Ms. Casper, is that your understanding of the agreement, ma'am? There is no agreement.
Yes, Your Honor.
In that, and has anything other than that been promised to you to get you to enter into this agreement?
No, Your Honor.
Has anyone forced or threatened you to enter into a non-agreement?
No, Your Honor.
You understand that that means you're on probation right now for felony petty theft, which is a statutory maximum of 5 years in the Department of Corrections, which means you can get anything all the way up from 5 years to all the clicks down to reinstatement of probation, termination of probation, community control, a year in the Department of Corrections, 2 years, 3 years, 4. You understand the whole buffet is on the table.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and I've got a 2-page document here, Ms. Casper, that sets forth the charge for which you are on probation, the conditions that you are admitting you violated, and then the fact that there is no agreement, but there are the associated costs. And then in here, the rights that you waive when you enter a plea as opposed to having a violation of probation hearing before the court, not a jury. Have you read this entire document carefully, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is that your signature in black ink on page 2?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, then Ms. Casper, you understand that by entering a plea today, you're giving up the right your right to have a violation of probation hearing. You're giving up the right to make the state prove by a tipping of the scales that you have violated your probation. You're giving up the right to have Mr. Cochran confront and cross-examine all the state's witnesses as well as call witnesses on your behalf. Under these circumstances, ma'am, you do not have the right to remain silent in that the state could call you as a witness and ask what you did or did not do that may have violated your probation. And finally, you're giving up the right to a direct appeal if there had been an error of law made during any kind of violation of probation hearing, because by entering this plea, we are not having a hearing. So understanding those are the rights you're giving up, Ms. Casper, do you still wish to enter the plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so then as to, wait a minute, let me find it, 4-7, there we go. As to, how do you plead to violating condition 3 by changing your residence without first procuring the consent of the probation officer in that on or about December 6th of 2018, you left your last known place of residence, or the residence that you put down as yours, the Waltrus Drive in Titusville, and that you were not there on the day that the probation officer, on the 6th of December, on the day that probation officer went there to look for you, was told you did not reside there.
Guilty.
All right. And how do you plead to violating condition 11 by failing to report in person on the day after you had been sentenced?
Guilty also.
All right. And are you pleading guilty to both of those, ma'am, because you are guilty and for no other reason?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. And Mr. Cochran, do you stipulate there is a factual basis to uphold the finding of guilt if believed by the fact finder?
So stipulated, Your Honor.
Thank you. Then, Ms. Casper, I will accept your plea and find that you freely and voluntarily entered it with full knowledge of the rights that you're waiving and that you've done so with the assistance of counsel with whom you say you are satisfied. So, Mr. Cochran, what are your thoughts? And you said you had some folks you wanted to call.
Yes, Your Honor. We would be asking for a drug rehab treatment sentence, Your Honor. I have witnesses who will testify she's been trying, even before this charge, to get treatment, has been unsuccessful in receiving treatment. My client's homeless.
She has an address.
She had an address, Your Honor.
Well, there's one listed with the clerk, and on the violation report, she's got an address as well.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll have her address that on the record, Your Honor.
Okay.
You know, very little means. She was home. I'm trying to say she was home. She has an address now that she can go to. Should I
Okay.
clarify? But at the time of the violation, she was homeless. At the time of the arrest, she was trying to find treatment. So we're asking that she be given an opportunity to get treatment as part of her sentencing, Your Honor. First, I'll inquire of my client, Your Honor.
Certainly. I believe she's been sworn.
I'm sorry?
She has been sworn.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Casper. At the time of your violation, why were you not staying at the address listed on the violation report?
Because the man started hitting me. He was in jail for like 3 times, so just this.
Who's the man? Of whom are we speaking, Ms. Casper?
Calvin
Calvin? What's Calvin's last name?
McWhite.
Mr. McWhite.
Yes.
And you say he was in
He
jail?
was hitting- right at that for hitting me, and then in November I had accepted the 3 years paper.
Okay, wait, may I ask, so what you're saying is that you had an ongoing relationship with Mr. McWhite?
Yes, I did for 3 years.
Okay. I see that he's the petitioner in a stalking injunction
Right.
in
We-
2017. And you're the respondent. Okay.
was thrown out of court.
Oh. Let's see. Okay, I see that he was arrested for domestic violence in April of 2018. And you are the victim. And I don't know, I don't know how that turned out. Okay. What happened?
Well, I went.
Oh, wait, there it is, battery DD. I'm sorry, I'm on it. Wait, you can tell me. Hold on. There's a notice of no information, so you went in and you dropped the charges, did you?
No.
No? What happened? And I'm
He
sorry,
was,
I'm looking over here, not at you, because this is where the information's coming from, and my ear is taking in that information. So I'm not trying to be rude, I promise.
Yes, right.
So I was arrested on this charge, and while I was in jail, he got out of jail
No.
and threw my stuff away. So I had to, speak to the sheriffs to stop out there. And then I had skipped my first check-in because I didn't have no street address after that. So I just,
So wait, you were
Which-
sentenced?
What she's saying is, Your Honor, while she was in jail,
he had,
the boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, whatever he was at the time,
The
removed her
domestic
stuff.
violence, okay, the
removed her stuff
domestic
from the home.
violence is him grabbing her phone and throwing it over the fence.
But he
Oh, and throwing her to the ground, shoving her to the.
he threw her stuff out while she was in jail. When she took this plea that released her on probation, she came home and she was now homeless. So she had given that address as the address she had, but she never checked in because she didn't have an address. Not excusing, she admitted the guilt to that, Your Honor. Just showing there's a mitigating circumstance.
Okay,
I would also like to call, I have no further questions for her right now, Your Honor.
okay.
I would like to call
Okay,
Keith Moore, Your Honor.
sure. All right, Mr. War, you said? All right. Come on up, sir. Good morning. Can you raise your hand? Do you swear or affirm that everything you say here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, tell us your name for the record, please.
Pardon me?
Tell us your name for the
My name
record.
is Keith James War,
Okay, W-A-R.
W-O-H-R. It's pronounced like
Ah, okay. How many times have you been asked that? W-O-H-R. All right, thank you. Mr. Cocker.
Mr. Ward, how are you acquainted with Miss Casper?
I have a reality show on YouTube called Homeless in Titusville, where for about the past 3.5 years I have gone out and made contact with people that are homeless and interviewed them and tried to hook them up with things that they need. And I had met Ms. Casper in August, and she told me that she was in an on-again, off-again relationship, that she had really no other options other than to sleep rough on the street or in a tent or with some of the other girls that are homeless out there on the street, or go back with him, this man that there was some, I guess, some domestic violence issues that she had told me that were ongoing that she had with this guy, and her drug addiction compounded, those issues.
Okay. And how many times did you interview her?
2 or 3 times.
And
Over what period of time?
Over the course of probably about 6 weeks, and after her first interview, one of my viewers sent the video into the Dr. Phil show, and they had wanted more information, and we filled it all out for her, and we were hoping that he, with his deep pockets, that he would be able to get her into some kind of a rehab for her drug addiction and counseling for, being a battered woman.
When was that?
That was in August.
So
Like
August.
August 15th or 16th, maybe?
August 15 or 16, it was, you say,
Yeah, I
her
think-
case caught Dr. Phil's eye,
Yes.
Sure.
and what, he put it on his show?
Well, a producer had contacted and said it was not a guarantee that she would be selected for the show, but that they wanted more information. And so I got with Ms. Casper, and we sat in McDonald's for a couple hours, and we filled out the questionnaire for the Dr. Phil show. But they said there was no guarantee, but that this was a real producer reaching out and wanting more information.
Okay, was the producer aware that she had a court date impending?
No, that was
Well, that was prior to her.
Yeah, well, that was
that was
the
prior to
questionnaire-
this.
Yes, Your Honor. This is prior to
Yes,
the
this
arrest.
is
Yes.
pre-arrest, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's, safe to say there's been no response from Dr. Phil?
No. And also I had some other people reach out, and then of course I tried on her behalf to try to get her into some kind of a rehab facility. One place in New Jersey said they would be more than happy to take her for 30 days if she would just tender $20,000.
Well, there's
Not
like-
having
there's
$20,000.
Way too many, there's you missed all the places in Florida though. But there's
Well-
30, there are 30. There's one called Hazelton, down in Palm Beach County. There's a whole bunch of them down in Palm Beach County.
Well-
Delray, you could find them too. It's rehab city down there.
The dozens of places I
30
I
days,
called-
30 days, think about it.
Well,
Do you think she got this problem in 30 days?
No, Your Honor.
Do you think it's going away in 30 days?
No, absolutely not.
Where could you stay for $30,000 for 30 days? I'm voting for the Four Seasons.
But over and
With
over,
room service.
she was told that I was told they would deny her entry because they said, well, her drug of choice was crack cocaine. They said you won't withdraw from that,
They'll
and
deny
therefore
her-
we don't have a bed for you, and so on.
Deny her entry to the Four Seasons or what?
To rehab, to the rehabs. All the rehabs that I called with her denied her.
Which ones did you call?
I called. There was a sheet that I was given from.
From this state?
It was from Hummingbird Pantry. They have a list of resources, and then I even took her to the battered woman shelter down here in downtown Titusville to try to get her in, for being a battered woman, just to get her, some kind of a start, get her away from this man off the streets. And the very reason that they denied her, and they said, well, we're afraid she will withdraw from crack cocaine. And I said, all the other rehabs are denying her for the exact opposite reason. Which
Okay, none of this is making any sense to me, sir.
I felt the same way.
Okay, was this all pre-arrest, pre-this
Yes,
arrest?
Yes,
yes,
Your
this was all in August.
Okay, well, then
Yes.
that problem's been solved. We have a rehab that will take
Yeah,
her.
we're not.
So why are
presenting
we
this-
talking about failed past attempts? We have a rehab that'll take her.
Yes, Your Honor, this was to show to the court that she actually wants help and she's been trying to get help, that this wasn't just a,
Okay, we have
I
a
wanna stay
rehab
out of
that'll
jail.
take her.
yes, Your Honor.
And
So
rehab that'll keep her there.
Awesome. That's
That's what
great.
we-
Very happy to hear that.
I have no further questions then, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for accommodating me this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. this
No
was just-
problem. You're welcome to come in at any time, and any good you can do is always more than welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
wanted to present to the court that this was actually an ongoing issue and it wasn't I just want to get out of jail, please send me to some kind of program. But to show that there's actually a problem here and she does want help and she's been trying to get help previous to her arrest, Your Honor. And-
Okay, okay. Previous to this particular arrest.
Yes, Your Honor. And if you look at her score sheet, Your Honor, most of her priors revolve theft, in an attempt to sustain her habits, Your Honor.
Pretty steadily, except, I mean, their 8 failures to appear kind of jumped out at me.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a bit of a record. And then on top of that, 3 contempt of courts. That's a bit of a record. So, 4 grand thefts from dwelling, 4 fraudulent use of personal ID, 6 driving while license suspended. So, a lot of the things on her score sheet jumped out at me.
Yes, Your
So,
Honor. But as I stated, a lot of them are.
9 worthless check charges?
Yes, Your Honor. Like I said, a lot of them are types of charges you normally see with someone who has an addict lifestyle, Your Honor.
A long addict lifestyle.
Yes, Your Honor. And she's trying to get help now. And before she was arrested, Your Honor, that's the main point we're trying to push through.
Okay.
And this isn't
Okay.
a get me out of jail card. This was an actual plea for help.
Okay. Okay. So what is it that what are your thoughts, Mr. Cochran?
Your Honor,
Now
we're
that
asking-
your witnesses have testified, what are your thoughts, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. We're asking that she be sentenced to a community control and a rehab, Your Honor, as a condition of that community control. And that,
You want 24 months of community control, that's your recommendation?
yes, Your Honor,
That's it?
with the mandatory rehab program, Your Honor, early term upon completion of rehab.
Are you being realistic or pie in the sky?
This is a realistic.
Are you doing what's best for Ms. Casper, or are you acceding to whatever it is she's asked you to ask for?
I think this is best for her, Your Honor. She only scores 32 points, Your Honor. The offer from the state was 364 days, Your Honor. What she could do would be done with probation and be done with the state. But we've discussed it, and she believes she needs a program, and I believe she also needs a program. I think the best interest would be for her to do some kind of supervision with the requirement that she completes a program.
How long has she been having addiction issues?
Because I was 33,
How old are you now?
43.
You think they're gonna go away in 24 months?
If she's
Or no, with early term after she completes? 6 months, 8 months? You think your addiction problems are going away in 8 months?
I have a stable home, yes,
Okay.
so it's not, the same area, it's,
She's taken steps to remove herself from those situations, Your Honor. She's actively seeking help, and I think that's the big difference between people who succeed at these kind of programs and people who don't. And the fact that she was seeking help prior to her arrest.
Do you think 24 months is a reasonable amount of time for her to get rid of attendant addiction?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shiny, what are your thoughts, sir?
Judge, the plea offer was extended by new prosecutor to the courtroom, and we let counsel know that it was now or never to take that offer of the 364, because Mr. Doyle and I thought that number was a little low for Ms. Casper. I see Ms. Casper as in a similar situation as Ms. Marshall. Now, Ms. Casper does have a little bit more history than Ms. Marshall. Ms. Marshall was on probation for 3 felonies instead of just the 1. I do see that her history is drug-related, or at least underlying drug-related thefts and motivation by theft. I can tell the court that if she wants rehab, she needs to take the full gamut of her exposure for that rehab, the 24 followed by the probation, the same that she did to Ms. Marshall. So it'd be 5 years of supervision and not allow her early term, because the earliest Ms. Marshall is going to be allowed to early term is after 5 years. But I do think incarceration is what Ms. Casper needs. I don't think that she has proven that she'll succeed on supervision.
All right, here's my concern, Mr. Cochran. I compared the score sheet of Ms. Marshall and Ms. Casper. Ms. Marshall has 0 failures to appear, 0 contempts of court. There's a huge difference between her being compliant with court orders or not. And if someone is sentenced and told to report to the probation office by noon the next day, and they just blow that off, really? Because they say, oh, I don't have an address to give them. And I go, the probation is supposed to help you. They go there and if she says, I have no place to stay, they would help find a shelter for her. But instead, she just didn't go at all, which is consistent with the 8 other failures to appear, the 3 other contempts of court, and then all the other, look, there's 2 worthless checks on here that must be felony worthless checks, and then there's 9 misdemeanor worthless checks. So, this has been, obviously, we're talking about orders of magnitude difference in terms of offenses, but my greatest concern is the failures to appear. To use a technical term, splitting. Okay, so we're going to give Ms. Casper.
Your Honor, if she were to remain in custody until a bed is available, would that change?
No. What I'm talking about is splitting from a non-secure residential treatment center. Guess what? People are at the bridge because they're on community control, but there aren't any fences there. People are at a Phoenix House, people are at CTC or whatever their Space Coast Recovery now. People are at many of those places, but there aren't any fences there, so they can split if they want to. And so with somebody with such a radical history of failing to appear, who sadly seems to have the drug addiction has such an intense grip on her life, I am going to respectfully sentence her to 36 months in the department. Well, I will find that she willfully and substantially violated the conditions 3 and 11 of her probation, revoke her probation, and sentence her to a new term of 36 months in the Department of Corrections. I would recommend the modalities program. That is an excellent rehab program. It is an in-house. There is no leaving, and she will get drug treatment that is top of the line. And the modalities programs have been reviewed, and they are very good rehab programs. And Ms. Casper will be, pardon the pun, a captive audience for that rehab program. And she will come out on the other side of that a better person. And that is my goal, because she will have 2 years of drug offender probation to follow, the 3 years in the Department of Corrections. She didn't want rehab really, because she's mad now. So if she really wanted rehab and not just a free pass not to go to DOC or jail, she would be saying, I'm going to the best confined rehab where I'm absolutely positively going to get it. but she's not. She's mad. She's got her arms crossed and she's huffing. So, the proof is in the pudding, Mr. Cochran. All right, so, ma'am, with regard to drug offender probation, you must undergo a drug and alcohol evaluation, and I'm gonna say this quickly, but you will have it in writing. You must undergo a drug and alcohol evaluation, and treatment is deemed necessary. You must successfully complete the treatment and be responsible for the payment of any costs incurred while receiving the evaluation and/or the treatment. You will abstain entirely from the use of illegal drugs and alcohol, and you will not associate with anyone who is using drugs or consuming alcohol. You will submit to your analysis testing randomly as required by your probation officer, and you are responsible to pay for drug testing. You may not go in any establishment where the primary purpose is the sale of alcohol, such as a bar, a club, or a sports bar. You may not leave your county of residence for medical treatment without prior court approval. You may not obtain an out-of-county drug prescription without prior court approval. And under no circumstances may you obtain a Schedule II narcotic, whether it be from an in or out-of-county physician, without prior court approval. The court retains jurisdiction over your person and authorizes any probation officer to search you at any time, as well as any vehicles or premises over which you have legal standing to give consent to search. So, Mr. Cochran, you stipulate to the 32.3 total sentence points. Do you have any
Yes, Your Honor.
objection to the 32.3?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Casper, you do have the right to appeal the judgment and sentence if you wish to do so. However, you must within 30 days of today, and if you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed. Good luck to you, ma'am. I truly
When
hope
I
you...
report, Judge?
Excuse me? Oh, yes, but you must report the very next business day after your release. That means that the very first opportunity, that means if you arrive in Brevard County at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, go to the probation office. In Titusville, is that where you're gonna live? Titusville. If you arrive here at 4 p.m. on a Friday, go to the probation office before noon on Monday. And they will drug test you, count on it. Very first opportunity. Okay? Is there anything unclear about that?
No.
All right. Apparently it wasn't clear last time, because you didn't go at all. You entered your plea late in the day and you just decided not to go. So you understand whether you got a residence or not, whether you got, a ride or not, whether you've done your hair or not, you must report to the probation office immediately. They are there to help you. All right. Ms. Casper, you do have the right to appeal the judgment sentence. If you wish to do so, you must within 30 days of today, and if you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed.
How long did it take? Are you addressing practice supervision?
No objection to waiver of cost of supervision, and what's the due date on the other?
Our other money is due 9/29/2021, but you have a new.
Let's make it 36 months after her release.
For everything?
Yes, please.
And Your Honor, we asked that the cost supervision be waived.
I already did that. I said no objection to waiver.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that you don't have to pay the court cost. The first step fee, which you may well be taking advantage of, that's the $1 per month of probation that every probationer has to pay. So that when people come out of prison and they have no place to live, they have no clothing to wear to a job interview, they have no proper shoes to wear to a job interview, probation sets them up in an apartment or a room, clothing, etc. That's the first step fee. That's karma. You're buying good karma for pennies on the dollar. So make sure that fee is still due, your drug testing fee is still due, all your court costs are due. The only thing that I'm saying no objection to waiver is the $55 or $60 that you would give them for the privilege of checking in each month. So please understand, this is you have to keep up with your obligations. The rubber's got to meet the road, and you got to be a grown-up at some point. Start now. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cochran. Alrighty, Mr. Fogel.
Today is the 11th of February, 2019. I'm Keith Ward, and welcome to another episode of Homeless in Titusville. And today we had the conclusion of Tanya Casper's case, and Chris Cochran is here to let us know what happened. So, what happened today, Chris?
So unfortunately, today Tanya was sentenced to 3 years Department of Corrections and 2 years community control.
What's community control?
Community control is a form of probation that requires her to essentially be on house arrest. She's not allowed to leave the home except for to go to doctor's appointments, to work. She has to write out a schedule every week of what she's going to be doing over the next week and give that to her probation officer every week. And if the probation ever checks in and she's not at one of the locations or not back by a certain time, then she gets violated for not completing those conditions. Which, I mean, we had asked for 2 years of community control, but with the conditions that she completed a community-based drug rehab. This is a person who clearly needed help, clearly was asking for help. She's standing before the court begging for help, and unfortunately, the judge sentenced her to prison.
Do you feel the sentence was a little harsh? Do you feel it was appropriate? Like, where do you stand on that?
I think that in Tanya's case, this is not the outcome that we should have had. You have someone who's clearly asking for help. This isn't someone who's like, well, I want to get out of jail, so I'll just say I want rehab. This is someone who, before she was ever arrested, was on your program, asking for help, begging for help, stood before the court, begged for help. And not because of any major violent history or criminal history like that, but because she had several failures to appear at court, and because she had some contempt of court where she didn't complete court orders, she was not given, a program that could have helped her and possibly save her life.
Right. Made this situation.
She wants to appeal. And I'll talk to her about it. Her chances of getting an appeal are not very good right now, unfortunately. So, the best we can hope for is that, she takes advantage of any program she does get, and that it's an actual program and not just a check in the box, and that, she actually is able to get recovered. It's not an outcome that we expected. It's not an outcome we wanted, but unfortunately right now is the outcome we're stuck with. And, it's just, unfortunately, it's just a continuation of what we discussed last week of, being able to have access to programs and, the chance to recover and reestablish your life, and
having the financial resources to be able to afford going to the meetings and, having a place to stay and all those other resources too are an issue.
Yes, and Tanya's case highlights that, I think, a lot, because, another girl was, asked for the same thing prior to her. She was much younger, had a less of a history, so she got it. Tanya was an addict for longer, but that shouldn't change the fact that she wants help. Right. And it doesn't change the fact that she's trying to do the right thing now. And I think, the outcome of this case highlights how our system doesn't actually help people. Right. We just continue to.
We warehouse them. Warehouse them. Right, with no real rehabilitation, at least in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't feel that I am with the people I encounter on the street.
Unfortunately, it's a system-wide problem. It's, you have some people who do go to prison and they change their life, but the difference is when they get out, do they have access? Do they have someone who's going to take the chance?
A stable residence.
Not just stable residence. Do they have someone who's going to take the chance to give them a job? Do they have someone who's going to take the chance and support them and believe in them? Because if without that, they're just going to end up in the same position they were before they went to prison. So until we address those issues, we're just doing the same thing over and over again.
Awesome. Hey, listen, how could somebody, if they wanted to hire your services, what number would they call to get you?
So my office number is 321-610-4224. Okay. My office is located on Wickham Road, 700 North Wickham Road, just south of Sarno in Melbourne. Okay. And I have a Facebook page, Law Offices of Christopher Cochran.
Okay. And do you have law partners, or are you?
It's just me. I
just you.
Work by myself, solo practitioner.
Awesome. Well, look, Chris, we appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to share your thoughts on the case and what's going on and stuff. And for you guys remember, you can join my Facebook page called Homeless in Titusville for discussions there about Tanya and other cases. And I guess until next time, I'll just say that may you be just as blessed as you have blessed others. And thanks for watching.